Ladies and gentlemen.
How y'all doing? So we got to get into these payback predictions. It's a one-match show. Well, two-match show. So let's get into it. Let's see. You have on the kickoff show is more than likely going to be Big E versus Sheamus. All right. So Sheamus was a guy who seemed to be primed for a big spot when he returned earlier in 2020. Didn't really work out because I heard a lot of rumblings about it was going to be Sheamus versus Braun Strowman for the Intercontinental Championship, which is why Braun Strowman won the Intercontinental Championship. And then he lost it to Sami Zayn a month before WrestleMania. And then the pandemic hit. And then Strowman ended up having to fill in for Roman. And Sheamus just kind of floated around. And then Sheamus was in that really good feud with Jeff Hardy, which he lost, but he hasn't done anything since he feuded with Jeff Hardy. Big E is on the upswing. Everybody has pretty much said, hey, this Big E run is real. They're really going to try to push him. They're really trying to do something with him. And so I think that Big E's going to win. If you have Sheamus win, okay, because Sheamus and Big E have already wrestled and Big E won. So maybe you have Sheamus win the second match, which is kind of what happened with the Jeff Hardy feud, where Jeff won the first match, which was in the tournament. Sheamus won the match at Backlash. He just beat Jeff Hardy. And then the third match was sort of the cinematic bar fight. So maybe you have Big E already beat Sheamus on SmackDown. Maybe you have Sheamus win this match. And then they have a third match, which is like some type of no disqualification type of deal, some type of brawl deal. But I don't think so. I think they just have Big E win this match. Sheamus is going to be completely pushed down the card if Roman is turning heel. I remain that Roman has not fully turned heel yet. He hasn't done anything heelish yet. If it's possible that Roman Reigns is going to turn heel, he's going to be the top heel, and then everybody else is going to go down a level, which is going to mean that the number 2 heel, which probably would have been Corbin or Sheamus, is going to go down to like 3 or whatever, and that's just kind of how it is. So Sheamus being on the kickoff show is bad. And usually, so I'm guessing that Big E's just going to win the kickoff match. And then somebody else is going to be suffering from Roman Reigns if he becomes a full heel. It's going to be Baron Corbin. And Baron Corbin is fighting Matt Riddle on this show. Matt Riddle is also new. He's also on the upswing. You don't want to beat him. He hasn't lost. Well, he has lost. He lost to AJ Styles. But do you really want to beat him one-on-one with Baron Corbin? No, not really. You kind of want to get Matt Riddle out of this feud with Baron Corbin, even though I know that Baron Corbin's feuds are not short. They are not short. And that now that Baron Corbin kind of has a new, I guess you could say, lackey in Shorty G, that maybe Shorty G gets involved here and helps Baron Corbin win. Maybe somebody else helps Baron Corbin win. I don't know. But I'm just going to play it safe and go with Matt Riddle, and Matt Riddle's going to win this match. Okay, so Dominic and Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins and Murphy. This is really bizarre because they already announced Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio for Raw. The Raw after this Payback. So, what? They just won't let this feud go, man. They won't let it go. All right, the Mysterios are going to win. Murphy's just in this match to take a pin. It's going to be a good showcase for Murphy, a good learning experience for Dominic. But ultimately, this feud is still about Rey and Rollins. And I think that ultimately, you just let Rey and Dominic beat Murphy. And the Mysterios go into Raw with another win. And hopefully, we can get somewhere near the end of this fucking feud. We need to end this thing. It needs to end somehow. If it didn't end with somebody being blinded, then I don't know how it ends. It needs to end somehow. So, our first main event, Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. All right, so this is a badass match, but it's a match in which you actually have booked yourself into a corner. Keith Lee should not be losing, even though he lost by disqualification on Raw, which was a problem because they shouldn't have had the match in the first place. They should have just announced Keith Lee was going to fight Randy Orton at Payback, and that was it. What they did was they gave us a really short match, 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, maybe. between Orton and Lee. So they kind of gave it away already. And then they had Orton win. He won by disqualification, but he won. And that might be the impetus to just have Keith Lee win this match, because he did lose because of Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre will not be involved this time. So what do? You just have Keith Lee eat an RKO, and then that's it. We just move on with Randy. Randy is still sort of the number one contender, right? Or you could have Keith Lee beat Randy Orton. If Keith Lee just pins Randy Orton with the Big Bang Catastrophe, then Keith Lee could say, well, I beat Randy Orton, I should be the number one contender. And then you would have a god-awful triple threat match, which I fucking hate triple threat matches. In that case, you would have to ask the question of whether you're splitting the crowd. You know, Keith Lee is a pretty solid babyface, and so is Drew McIntyre. People have been on the Drew train since WrestleMania. And do you really want to have to split that audience now with a newer, fresher face in Keith Lee? And it would be good for Keith Lee to be in a title picture, because he's only been on the roster a week. So it would be nice for him to be in the title picture, but I don't see them making him the champion. So I don't know if that's what you want to do. And I certainly don't want him to just eat an RKO and that's it. So I think Randy Orton wins, but he wins by some sort of underhanded thing. Like he roll up, pull the tights, or something like that. Something to that effect. He's going to get a pinfall win. There might be some type of chicanery. But I think if you want to continue the Orton-McIntyre feud, which of course they do because McIntyre is injured by Orton. So they have to continue that feud. That means, I guess, you have to go with Keith Lee versus Randy Orton, and you have to go with Randy Orton. So Keith Lee is just sort of a stopgap in this situation. You have Orton beat him with some bullshit roll up. You know, I would definitely be surprised if it's just they have a good match and boom, RKO 1, 2, 3, Keith Lee loses. That would fucking suck. That would suck. No matter how good the match is, man, that would suck. So I'm going to go ahead with Randy Orton, but Randy Orton with chicanery, you know, a low blow, pull the tights, or legs on the ropes, or something to try to protect Keith Lee, but to get them out of this match. And maybe they'll do a third match somewhere on Raw or something. The United States Championship, Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley. Apollo Crews has been a good United States champion. I've enjoyed his run. I have not really always enjoyed his matches with MVP because they have been very plain, as far as they've just been having sort of the same match again and again and again and again and again and again. Not a fan of that. If they'd have varied these matches up some, maybe lumberjack matches here, no disqualification match there, it would have been a lot better. I think that Bobby Lashley is the guy in the Hurt Business that you kind of just want to remain strong. And it seems, so I think that's you just put the title on Bobby Lashley. And I think putting the title on Lashley, you opened up more options for Apollo, for not just Apollo Crews, but also for Ricochet, for Mustafa Ali, for Cedric Alexander, and for, you know, those guys, you know, the Humberto Carrillos and the Kevin Owenses, and all these guys who are in this sphere of the United States title. Lashley had, and then also you have Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Lashley had a pretty decent fight at the Raw Underground. It was very short, but it was a nice little tease. And maybe you put the U.S. title on Lashley, and you just have Lashley sort of be the boss in the middle of the card that, you know, that's hard to beat, hard to top. You just let him sit there with that title, with the Hurt Business around him, even though like he's enough in and of himself. But then of course you have everyone else. Give him an opportunity to work with all of the younger guys, and that would be good. That would be a good spot. And Apollo Crews doesn't have to fall off the face of the earth just because he lost the U.S. title. He gets to remain sort of in that spot because he's going to get rematches and stuff like that. But I definitely think you need to move the title now and just move it to Lashley. I'll definitely be surprised if Apollo Crews wins this match. So I expect Lashley to win the United States title. So you have the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and her partner Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, a thrown together tag team. Now, not a fan of the thrown together Nia Jax Shayna Baszler tag team because they really don't have a reason to be partners. It's like they're partners because Sasha Banks and Bayley are annoying, pretty much, and they've been taking up a lot of the TV time. But really, both Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have been lost in the shuffle. Technically, they both should be chasing Asuka for the Raw Women's title, and that is a better use, especially of Shayna Baszler. And I'm tired of them teasing the Shayna Baszler versus Asuka match and not really doing it. Like, they've teased it 2 or 3 times already and just not done it. I don't know what it is about Shayna Baszler that they're trying to, tie an anchor around her ankle, but they need to just let her go and be the dragon that I keep saying that she needs to be in this division. Nia Jax is the big show. She exists as a large piece of meat in order to bump other people and to get other people over by being bumped. So I don't really see why Baszler and Jax would win this match. So how do they get out of this? I think maybe Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler turn on each other, and maybe they get to fighting, and then there's a roll up, or maybe, and I think it's probably more likely, Bayley gets the team disqualified. That Bayley hits somebody with something, she tries to cheat or something, and they get disqualified, and then Banks and Bayley just escape with their tag team titles, and they do a rematch later. That's what I think is going to happen here. The Bayley Banks things everything involving them has been bullshit as far as finishes are concerned. They are very, very rarely giving away clean finishes involving Bayley and Sasha Banks. There's always some type of chicanery or something. But I also think that Bayley should be wrestling Naomi. Like, I never seen somebody get pinned before and then the person doesn't get a title shot. Like, why did Naomi not appear on SmackDown demanding a title shot against Bayley? Because she pinned Bayley. It doesn't make any sense. Or you could have just said, well, Naomi pinned Bayley, so therefore she gets a tag team title shot, and she gets to pick her partner or something, and it could have been Carmella or Mandy Rose or somebody else, anybody else, and that would have made more sense than Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I just don't like the team. I don't care about this team. So I'm going to go with Banks and Bayley not losing the titles, as much as I'm not so sure Jax and Baszler would win, as much as Banks and Bayley would just get disqualified or something like that. So the WWE Universal Championship match, no holds barred, is a triple threat match, which is already no holds barred because you can't get disqualified. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, versus Braun Strowman versus the big dog, Roman Reigns, with Paul Heyman. So, what do we got going here? I think clearly the idea is Roman's back. Roman should get the title, and Roman should go off with the title to do Roman Reigns as champion things. Strowman is probably not finished with the Fiend, and the Fiend is probably not finished with Strowman. Even though their title match could have been a blow-off for their feud. And, but you do have to ask the question, well, let's just be realistic. Realistically, Braun Strowman is in this match to take the pinfall. That's why he's there, is to sort of probably build the heat between the Fiend and Roman, and to get Braun out of the picture. Now, what do you do with Braun afterwards? I don't know, probably all that Alexa Bliss stuff. Which I think is going to still, since it's continuing, the Alexa Bliss, she seemed to be turning heel. I think that they're going to do the Harley Quinn sort of turn with Alexa Bliss, where she's going to become infatuated with the Fiend, and maybe we're going to, similar to how Harley Quinn became infatuated with the Joker, and hopefully that might be the case, and I think that might be fun with Alexa Bliss in the fun house with Bray. Probably dressed like Mary Poppins or something like that. It might actually be fun to do that, and that'd be like a good use of Alexa Bliss. But I don't think that factors in here. I just think that that's going to be probably a node in the Strowman Fiend continuing feud, because I think Roman just takes the title and gets the title out of this feud. And I think that's really what the big picture is here, is that Roman is back. He's going to get his spot back, which he's supposed to get at WrestleMania, which is him taking the title off The Fiend. He's going to take the title off The Fiend, but he's not going to actually beat The Fiend. He's going to beat Braun Strowman. He's going to take the title, get out of this picture. Fiend and Strowman are going to continue on with their feud, and Roman is going to be at the top of the mountain, babyface, heel, I don't know. Depends on how, even if he works this match aggressively, it doesn't mean that he's a heel. And I think we have to take into account that aggressive doesn't mean heel. Roman has been aggressive. He should be aggressive. He's a big guy. That doesn't mean he's a heel. Being with Paul Heyman, of course, does sort of make him a heel. But I'm going to teeter on that because I'm not sure if that's really what they're fully going to do yet. I want to see how they execute the Roman Paul relationship. I want to see how that works first before I decide whether he's a heel or not. But what I do want to see is Roman win the title and, again, be at the top of the mountain, kind of like Brock is. And we just watch slowly as different baby faces come up to fight him. Your Otis, your Money in the Bank guy, your Matt Riddle, your Jeff Hardy, your, maybe you turn some other guys. I heard they was going to do a draft soon, that there was going to be a draft. Maybe that's when you start bringing in more baby faces. You have to flip some guys. Roman's going to need some dance partners. Regardless of whether he's a baby face or a heel, he's definitely going to need some dance partners. If he stays a face, let's say he's an aggressive face, he's still going to need dance partners because you've beaten Sheamus and Corbin to death. Miz, Morrison, those guys mean nothing. Cesaro, Nakamura, they don't mean anything. AJ Styles just lost the Intercontinental title. Maybe you could run that back, because he could always bounce back with it, and win that. But he's already going to have beaten Bray, and he's already going to have beaten Strowman. So you need to build some people up. And I mean, taking the title out of the picture for a little while is not bad, even so. I'm okay with Roman just taking the title and running. And the whole show is built on this, The whole entire Payback is built on this match because The Fiend is a top money draw and Roman is the guy. And Strowman is just, he was there for, a spot. This might be his last main event for a while. Unless we end up with more Strowman versus Roman stuff coming out of this, which I don't think that's going to happen. But it's going to be interesting. So a recap. My picks are Big E over Sheamus, Matt Riddle over Baron Corbin, the Mysterios over Rollins and Murphy, Randy Orton over Keith Lee, Bobby Lashley over Apollo Crews, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler by disqualification, and Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman to win the Universal Championship, unless we get trolled. So, and also let me say this. I believe Retribution is going to actually play a part in one of these matches. Now, and I do think that we're going to learn a lot about Retribution from this show. And either this show or next Friday's SmackDown. They seem to be a SmackDown thing, even though, we don't, I'm not so sure about that, but it seems like they do most of their stuff on SmackDown. So I'm almost certain that Retribution is going to be a SmackDown thing. And if they are involved in a main event storyline, it will be here on this show, on Payback. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Enjoy the show.